I fell asleep, don't know when. You woke me up at the end. I fell asleep, don't know when. You woke me up at the end. Lights are on, the darkness is gone. Standing right in the middle. I have my peace of mind. This is my time to shine. This is my golden time. Lost and I didn't even know it. Dimly lit the path, I chose it. It's a drama, it's a play, like the phases of a day. I have my peace of mind. This is my time to shine. This is my golden time. Cycles spin, the stages unfold, costumes change, but not the actors I am. Going home, time for peace. Through the gates, I am free. Lights will lead the way for us, standing right in the middle. I have my peace of mind. This is my time to shine. This is my golden time. Lost and I didn't even know it. Dimly lit the path, I chose it. It's a drama, it's a play, like the phases of a day. I have my peace of mind. This is my time to shine. This is my golden time. I have my peace of mind. This is my time to shine. This is my golden time.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Linda.
Good morning.
Godly.
Good
morning.
sisters.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So, I hope you all warm this wonderful morning and not
Yes, we are.
not too affected by what's happening outside. So, in fact, today we have a beautiful topic because we're going to speak about time. And time is obviously something that really does determine many things. We use time with the idea that we need healing. We say it takes time. When there's growth, we say it's time. But time also is another indicator. It directs us to what we need to do. Just like how when we wake up in the morning, time tells us it's time to wake up. And then when the sun sets, it's time to sleep. So different times requires different actions. And so let's explore in the more eternal sense of time, what really it is that we at this point in time are required to do. So sisters, what's your thought on time?
Well, we've been kind of taught many things about time. And certainly in the scientific world, time is seen as linear. But in the spiritual teachings, time is so different. And, we have cycles of time that we live with every single day, like our cycle of 24 hours. Mm-hmm. We always know that after 24 hours, the sun will rise again and then it will set. And in the same way, we see the seasons, a slightly bigger cycle. And we know that at the moment we are in winter. But if we said, well, we're going to stay in winter for the rest of time, no one would be that happy. We like the fact that time moves on and that the spring is guaranteed. And so today I think we're going to look at this even bigger cycle of time that is even greater than our 365 days cycle. And it's amazing that when we broaden our vision of time, it really gives us an amazing context for everything that's happened to us as a human family. And that context is important for us because it's in there that we realize that we've come on a very long journey. And the good news is that, the spring that seems to be left behind is actually in front of us.
I couldn't have said it better, especially the 2 points that you expressed in the beginning, that time is linear scientifically and spiritually time is cyclic. And then when you really think about life on earth, as you said, everything is cyclic, Day is 24 hours, becomes a week becomes a month, and we see those cycles right through life. And yet, I think we've been influenced by the scientific explanation of time being linear, which makes time something that goes on and on and on and on. And nobody knows when time ends, nobody knows when time began, that kind of thing. But also, when you look at the cycle itself, it contains the knowledge of everything within it. And the fact that we know that the cycle is 5,000 years long, that gives us an idea. And then when you come to think of your memory compared to the background of 5,000 years, how far back can you remember? And that also explains itself in a very clear manner. And I do have this idea that I created for myself, that when you think about the cycle of 5,000 years in your mind, I see my present right now, this birth, as the library, because all the information about myself is available straight away. And the information about my past births, the other side of the cycle, is in my archives, or what you call the subconscious, and it sits there. So when I'm dealing with a cycle in that sense, it doesn't make me want to think back. I want to think about now and the way forward. And of course, taking into consideration that now that we know the cycle and how it works, then the phrase, time waits for no man, comes into place. Then it means the moment you know the cycle, then you have to use time properly for your benefit to begin with. So that's what was coming into my mind when you were talking.
Perhaps one of the things, when you think about the idea of time being cyclical, the importance of that is that there's no end, which means there's no, the kind of things that we fear, like even when we think about death, there's the feeling that if something was born, it will end. And so a very powerful awareness can really be brought into our consciousness when we think about time being cyclical, that there's the whole idea of eternity. And so my my own eternal existence. And I'd like us just to look at one thing that can be a real cause of pain in our world. Sister Fatima mentioned memory. And I'd like to sort of separate the idea of remembering and memory, because this is a very key thing in our lives. If I think about my childhood and what I had, and I have memories of it, and then I look now and I think I can't get those, there can be a deep feeling of sorrow. But if I look into the idea that nothing really perishes and it actually just moves on, that when I was a child, at some point I will experience that again. But it's not about me going back into memory, but actually understanding that nothing can actually be destroyed. But what I can do without rather going into the memory of the event, I can remember that there's happiness and there's joy in those moments. And so what happens is that we normally connect the incident with the experience. For example, when I got the ice cream, I was happy. So now when I don't have the ice cream, I'm unhappy. But if I don't think about having the ice cream or not, but I think about ice cream and how good it is, I can begin to feel happy. So this is a very important thing for us to realize, is not to live with memory, but to have remembrance of what it is that we have attained. And when we understand cycle in or time in a cyclical manner, we begin to understand that everything that happened is already an experience inside of me, and it's an attainment. And the fact that it actually moves on, we know that nothing will last forever. So there's a lovely story about somebody who had achieved a lot of sorrow and difficulty, and he was given a little piece of paper, and in the piece of paper something was written, but he was told, only use this piece of paper when you are really in the worst situation, when you know that there's nothing else that can benefit. And so he goes through many different scenes and was tempted many times to open the piece of paper, but he doesn't do it until he's actually facing death, where he's cornered. And then he thought, let me see what this piece of paper is all about. And when he opens, it says, this too will pass. And it's so interesting, just because he had this idea that this too will pass, somehow he survived and he was able to get his kingdom back and whatever. And then when he was back into his full glory and full potential, he opened that paper again and he said, this too will pass. And I like us to use time with that kind of awareness, not to use circumstances and situations as a form of attainment, but to actually rather understand that I am the actor playing my part and giving myself an opportunity to express myself. And that actually is where the happiness comes in. So, I don't want to go into too much complication, but don't look at even this current time and feel, whoa, what we're going to do, and life is so hectic. But understand, because time is moving in a cyclical matter, it is actually just giving me an experience, this experience of all of us, even going through Corona. When it finishes and we speak about it to the next generation, we're going to say, we lived in those times and this is what happened. And it will actually become a powerful thing in our lives that we managed to survive a pandemic. It brought humanity together. We discovered new technology. So you see, now if we go into it and start looking at the incidences, we can get a lot of pain and sorrow. But when we look at it as it's finished and just see what we gain from it, then we actually celebrate. So using time with that kind of consciousness can allow us to put a full stop to things that have happened and not linger into incidents and take sorrow as we relive the scenes by talking about it in a story-like way.
I was listening to you, and I was really very awakened by your phrase, "These too shall pass," because everything has an end. Everything has a beginning and an end during the cycle. And that is a very powerful phrase to keep in your mind, that nothing stays forever. Everything that's happening will finish and will go past, as you said. But also what was coming to my mind was that if you look at the seasons and you look at how life changes from time to time, you know, like there are moments of happiness and there are moments of sorrow. The same thing, if you look at the seasons, there is summer and spring. We all look forward to summer specifically because the sun is always shining, you can go outside and everything. But when you think about winter, you want to prepare yourself for winter. You want to bring out your woolies, your everything, all the things that are warm. And I don't think we really like winter that much, more than we like summer. But then again, that's the same thing in the cycle. There will be happy times and there will be times when we are not happy. But then when you think about the times that we are not happy, what are those teaching us? Because everything that comes to you and brings sorrow, don't dwell on the sorrow and waste time. Just think, what did I learn from that experience? And in that sense, you'll find that you're using time properly. Because as you gain more information about why that thing happened, what you've learned from it, it means spiritually you are progressing.
Yes, and I was also thinking about how it's important to really understand where we've come from. You know, we're talking about the seasons, the spring and summer. And what does that really mean for us as a human family? That there was a time in which we experienced the spring of consciousness, that divinity and purity. And that is our history, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So often, you know, in philosophy, they'll say that, you know, we're coming out of darkness and we're coming into light. And to a certain extent, that's true. But actually, our origin is the spring of consciousness. That time when everything was pristine, which simply means that those original qualities that we were talking about, that we call innate qualities, were completely natural. And that, like everything in our physical world, it starts new and it becomes old. And the same thing applies, in a sense, to the soul, that the soul has been on a long journey and has lost sight of its own divinity. But as we say, spring, we're in the winter of human consciousness, and so spring is ahead of us. And this time is the most important time in the whole cycle. It's that time of the confluence where the old meets the new. And it is our golden opportunity to return to, as Sister Usha said, to remember. And what are we trying to remember? We're just trying to remember our original state. And this is where our practice of soul consciousness and our meditation is so important, because that helps to actually allow us to see what is already inside of us.
I can't help but remember something. We keep talking about the seasons, but especially in our country, what happens is that all the bushes are burnt in winter to avoid felt fires. And when we look at all that black soot everywhere, you'll think, gosh. And then when that beautiful green grass starts to grow from that burnt, you just can't believe that actually it was the same wasted land. But I think it's so powerful for us to know that actually nothing is a waste, because the very compost that decomposes from the fresh vegetation becomes the nutrients to actually bring good health to the new plants that grow. So this period of our time, and Sister Belinda, when you were speaking about meditation, I like to think about meditation as that period where we're creating compost, where we actually fermenting and we actually brewing in our own juices in one sense of the word, where we're making sense of everything that's happened. But then we're taking out from it the stuff, because life's experience actually makes us strong, makes us resilient, makes us powerful. And we need to understand that to return to the truth of who we are, it takes courage. Mandela's speech about we are more afraid of our light than our darkness is very evident. It's interesting that humanity can sit in this confusion of help us, we don't know what's happening, because it's better to get somebody to come out and help you. But it takes more effort for me to internalize and build up my own stamina and become strong enough so that I can become the change element. And I feel actually time is asking us not to wait for someone to be our martyr, to come and save us and salvage us, but for us to, if we really become aware that we know what is truth inside of us, because when we become quiet, we know actually what is right. Nobody needs to tell us, but we want somebody else to do it rather than we do the work. So meditation for me is time when I become quiet and I work on myself, so that actually I allow what is inside of me to emerge and become the change element. So invitation really for us to take this time to not look at the outside forces, but the things that disturb you. When you get irritated, when you get sad, when you get angry, ask yourself, what inside of you is missing that you can actually feel those? And then compare it to the understanding of what's my intrinsic qualities, and then substitute that, and just be amazed at how you actually will heal yourself. You are actually the solution to your own problem. And it makes us really leave that idea of needing and step up to become sovereigns, because the whole study of Raj Yoga is about being a master, a sovereign.
Yeah, and maybe just finally to talk about the role of the divine at this time. Because, we know that the earth is a certain distance from the sun, and that's a good thing, because if it was closer, maybe we would be too hot, and if it was further, maybe we would be too cold. But, historically in most faiths, there's a memory that God says, in your darkest hour, I will be there. And so what better time to be able to take help from the divine than the time when we're in winter. in the winter of consciousness, and to also understand that this is the time that, like the sun, actually we can be closer to God and take help from God for that process that you were talking about, Sister Usha, to really come back to our true self and to heal that which is actually untrue.
Maybe, Sister, you want to take us into a meditation?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So we sit back. And we just take that switch in consciousness and switch on as if we're switching on a light. And we're able to see what is normally invisible. We see the being that is true, that divine spark of consciousness we call the soul, the immortal self that journeys through time and space, that comes initially with all its beauty, the purity, the divinity, naturally peaceful, naturally loving. And as this being enters time and space, the journey begins. So many episodes of this play, this drama. And all the while, this divine spark is gradually using up its divine power. And so we shift from spring to summer, from summer to autumn, and from autumn to winter. And just as winter is a time for cold and barren, empty trees, but at the same time, invisibly, spring is preparing to emerge. The Supreme Soul sees the full picture. And comes forward to help the soul to remember, to come back to that which is true and real. Like the actor, realizing that it was all a play. And now it is time to step off the stage and return to the true home and the true parent. So much light, so much power is available from the divine to help the soul to return to the true, authentic, beautiful, divine self. Om Shanti.
Awareness of time. Time is my director, directing me to do what I need to do now. If not now, then never. With this attitude, I am not lost in the past. I'm not hijacked by the future. I am present in the now. I am ever ready. So enjoy your day, and definitely if you have questions, there's a WhatsApp chat that is also being created and the link is in our chat. You can also use that chat box or the WhatsApp link to ask us more questions and stuff like that. We are definitely touching on some very deep topics, but this is just to give you a taste of how exploring these elements can really make a difference to how we live our lives. So enjoy your day. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister.
And you can unmute to say bye.
Thank you, Sister Usha, Sister Belinda.
Thank you, Sister Fatima. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, sisters.
Thank
Have a
you
beautiful day.
all.
See you
Have a
tomorrow.
lovely day.
Bye.
Thank you, sisters.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, sisters.
Thank you, all sisters.
Thank you.
Thank you, all sisters.
It's nice to get your voices in. At least we know it's real people, we will say.
Thank you, sisters.
Thank you, brothers.
Om Shanti. Have a good day.
You too.